Welcome to the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
All right, Josh Chin here. I'm the host of the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts in the e-commerce industry and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by Chronos.agency. If you run a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand that is ready to scale and to double your customer lifetime value through retention and lifecycle marketing, Chronos is your company. We've helped hundreds of brands scale profits with email, SMS, and mobile push while getting an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, Elias Skin, The Udi, and many more. Now, the next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency, or you can go to chronos.agency to learn more. Now, today's guest, Ric Kostick, is the co-founder and CEO of an incredible company, 100% Pure, a personal care and cosmetics brand that prioritizes all natural ingredients and high-end cosmetic formulas to create beauty that is good for you, the environment, and the community at large. Now, Ric has been an entrepreneur for a long, long time. And he started his business back in 2005, if I'm not wrong, 2005. So, Ric, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you on.
Thank you, Joshua. I'm super excited to be here. And we published that we launched in 2005, but we actually incorporated 2004. So it's one more year on there.
Oh my. That's
But
crazy.
it was towards the end when we launched. So we decided, you know what? We like how 2005 sounds better in 2004. We'll just consider 2005 our launch year.
And so 2004, 2005, those were the years where I guess, I think e-commerce at that point in time, I don't even recall e-commerce being a term, e-tailing or e-retail even being that big of a thing. How did you end up in the D2C space? I know you didn't start there. What happened to you?
That's really interesting because I've always been somewhat of an entrepreneur. And so when I was in college, I went to Berkeley and I went into Berkeley as a mechanical engineer. That was the major I got in, and I realized I couldn't draw. And then I started searching around for other different majors, and I took classes and everything. But one area I was really good was computer science. I could code extremely well. And I thought, this is easy for me. I'll just start doing this as a side gig. I can earn some great money by consulting people on technology. And the World Wide Web was coming out. This is the late 90s. And so I can make websites. So I started making websites for people. And one of my customers or clients, person I made a website for, was my mom's hairstylist. It was a salon in San Francisco. The owner of the salon, he was extremely talented at cutting hair. He was the most expensive stylist in the city too. He made that well known. And he would always talk about products with me. I was there. I built out his website and I liked him. And so he started talking about how there was this dearth for products for teenagers and no hair care for teenagers. Back then, the late 90s, teenagers were starting to have money to spend. They didn't really have spendable money before then. It was a category overlooked, but there wasn't cosmetic products, hair care products for them. And so we thought, we could make some products for teenagers. And it dawned on me that, and teenagers are on the World Wide Web. I was like 17 at the time, as a freshman in college. And I said, look, we can sell the products through the web. If you can figure out how to make them, I'm positive that we can make our website e-commerce enabled and sell it through the web. And so we did it. And we made like 5 shampoos, 5 conditioners, really fun flavors for teenagers, licorice, bubblegum, green apple type of flavors. We made a great bottle design by a very famous designer. And the bottle's actually in the Museum of Modern Art. And then Sephora picked up the brand, and Nordstrom picked up the brand. And this kind of got me started into it. We started growing the business, the hair care business. And over the years, my dad showed me an article of this girl that was going to school also at Berkeley, and she was making her own cosmetics. And it mentioned that her customer is also Sephora and her customer is also Nordstrom. And she was making powdered masks out of her dorm room. Her name was Susie Wang. And he said, "Do you know her? She's doing something similar to you." I said, "No, I don't know her," but I looked her up. And then I started reaching out to her. And this is where, after I reached out to her and got to know her, I started really delving into the formulas of the products. There's a lot of ingredients in the early products I made that I couldn't pronounce, let alone understood what they do. And I'd talk to the chemist, and the chemist would explain it to me. He'd wonder why the heck I care what's in the products so much. And it dawned on me after, meeting with Susie, talking to her about this, that, these ingredients that are in all these products all over the market, this is going on your skin. And what's going on your skin ingests. What goes on your skin ends up inside your body. And there are toxins out there that once it's inside your body does not leave your body. And this is starting to get more media more recently about like fluorocarbons and things like that. And so we realized and now at this point in time, we actually sold that original hair care line to a distributor. So we sold that off. And Susie was formulating. She actually gave up on her early business because she couldn't keep up with the orders, and she didn't think to hire people to make things to keep up with it. So the companies hired her to formulate for them, and they would make the products. So that's how she evolved. But they wouldn't use her exact formulas, and that was driving her nuts. And so I said, we could actually launch our own line and make it entirely natural, entirely good for you, healthy, toxin-free. And one of us came up with the name 100% Pure. We're not sure who came up with it. And her brother was graduating school at the time, James Wang. And so he joined in with us at the start. So it was the three of us that launched 100% Pure to the market. We wanted to make it cool, make it more mainstream, more sexy than the only natural products you could find back then were at health food stores. And there was no Whole Foods back then. Or if there was, it was only a few locations. And the products at the health food stores, they didn't look good. They didn't perform well. And no one would buy them because of that. And so we were one of the first brands to market that had, the term clean is now butchered. You hear about clean beauty, but there's no definition of it. But I would say really healthy, pure products that help improve your life. That's our mission. That's how we got started in the e-commerce space. Creating our website was really easy because that was my background. So e-commerce was something we focused on from the beginning, and it became more in focus as time went on.
I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the early days, the first kind of major breakthrough was with QVC.
So even pre-QVC, the absolute first account we had, and I have to think that they're like the antithesis of natural formulas, but they gave us our start. And that was Bath and Body Works was our first customer.
Right.
They launched a concept in 2004 that was to compete with Sephora. And not a lot of people know this because they killed the concept about a year or two later. They changed 100 of their top doors. So their best looking stores, they changed into multi-brand. We were a top brand in those stores. It gave us our start, introduced us to the public. And from there, they wanted exclusive. And then at a meeting, I remember thinking that, TV shopping is great exposure. It should actually raise our sales in the stores if we're on TV shopping. So I asked, the Bath and Body Works buyers during a meeting, do you think it's okay if we go to QVC? And I never even talked to QVC. I didn't know anyone there. I just asked them because I wanted to be there and figure out a way if they say it's okay. And they said, yeah, we think QVC is great. So I cold called QVC. And at that time, we developed a technology using the pigments from fruits and vegetables So Susie was picking blackberries and she showed me the blackberry pigment on her finger. And she said, look, Rick, look at this pigment. If we could put this in cosmetics, that would be really cool. And it would be. And I said, let's try it. And we put it into a base formula and it worked. And we can make a blush. We can make a lipstick. And it's not just blackberry pigments. You know, the color in any plant you can isolate. And that's the antioxidant, is the color as well. So it has health benefits on top of being the pigment. It's very difficult to stabilize them and make them last a long time. We've perfected that over the years, but it worked. And so we brought this to QVC, and this is what convinced the QVC buyer in 2006, January, to launch our lip gloss using fruit pigments. And
Wow.
we sold out in our first show, and they scaled us up until 2009. So from 2006 to 2009, we started scaling the brand. We had supply issues back then because getting the fruit pigments and developing this technology was a bit of a challenge. And even scaling up our own manufacturing, we were making things ourselves. We weren't using contract manufacturers because they couldn't get it. They didn't understand how to make natural products and in the way that we can, at our standard, our level of standards.
Do you manufacture your products today, or are you currently working with?
That's another journey. So we originally, it was the three of us making the products out of our house in Napa. We converted our garage into a manufacturing and until we outgrew it. And then we got a warehouse and we manufactured all our skincare. We didn't do our own makeup manufacturing because it required a lot of specialized equipment. So we couldn't. So we had to find a partner in makeup. And then more recently, in around 2015, 16, 17, we made the decision to get out of manufacturing. We just wanted to be out of it. James was physically working in there in the manufacturing at the time as we split up our job functions. He ran manufacturing. His family didn't want him in manufacturing. They thought, okay, the way to get out of manufacturing is we just stop. And so that's what we did. We decided, okay, we'll stop manufacturing. It's going to really hurt our margins. We knew that because working with contract labs, they're going to be a lot more expensive than doing it ourselves. And what I did learn with that lesson when we got out of manufacturing is that contract labs are a lot more difficult to deal with than I expected. I would say in the natural, very, very clean side of things, very, very pure side of things, they're a lot more difficult. You can find factories for traditional cosmetics is very easy, and they're very easy. There's a lot of established ones that are very easy to work with. But when you have such high standards on your formulas, it's really difficult to find the reliable ones that can supply you. And so it costs massive out of stocks across our company. Also, we lose some of our innovation because we're relying on other people for your innovation now instead of yourselves.
Yeah.
And so it slowed down our product development at the same time. And so I realized how critical it was to bring it back. And so we launched our own manufacturing again in 2019 we really in a small way, just kind of a pilot.
Yeah.
But our goal for quarter 3 of 2021 is to double our manufacturing that quarter, just because the demand is so high. Just from our own demand from our own products is so high. And we have a few other brands that want us to manufacture for them. And we have manufactured for them in this space because our quality standards are really high.
It's really interesting. And it sounds like the product is the core of the business. I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs in the D2C space, in the e-com space, who have started their business in the recent past 5 years, 4 years, and it's a very different mindset going into it. Like, it's marketing first, CPA, CPC, and thinking about how to break even on the front end and making a lot more money in the back end. What's your kind of the whole process of evolution from 2004, 2005 to past the 2008 recession and to today, what are some of the major trends you see in e-commerce, and how have you been able to adapt throughout the years?
So there's a lot of trends I see in e-commerce. It's hard to, I'll touch on a few of them, and I'm sure there's more that I'm aware of, but I would say, in 2004, when we just launched our website. We're on Illusion, for those of you that know the shopping cart platforms.
Oh yeah.
And it was right around the time when Illusion, came in existence. And we actually outgrew them at the time, but I think they ended up improving their product over time. And so when QVC came into the mix, QVC was it's still big, but when TV was a thing, which I know it's very dated now, not really a thing anymore for TV, QVC was the thing. It was the place to be. It was where you can do massive volume. And so in 2009, we lost our QVC business during the recession, and all that inventory. So the way QVC works is if you don't sell, you prep the inventory, you own the inventory. And after it sells, that's when you get your money. If it doesn't sell, it's coming back to you. Or if they decide they're no longer want your brand, it's coming back to you. And so 2009, we had this massive amount of inventory coming back to us that it made me think, what am I going to do with all of this? And I thought, I know the digital landscape. I know e-commerce. It's kind of, native to me. Why don't I just focus there? And why don't I use this inventory? I'll run promotions. Back then, I don't think segmenting was as big. I don't think even retargeting existed at that time. But so we just ran massive, email was the main thing. And so we just ran massive email campaigns and ran promotions across our website. And it helped us acquire customers doing that. And we did some innovative refer friends back then. And I looked to some of the big established companies. What do they do to really grow their business over time? So looking at who was the dominant player in the space and what were the key things they did in marketing, not even e-commerce, just what are the key things that anchor them in their marketing? And, Estee Lauder and L'Oreal in department stores, which are also on the decline, which was the rise of Sephora, they traditionally relied on these massive gift with purchases were really, really big for acquiring customers. So they would put together these sets that are 100, 200, I think even nowadays, like $500. And it's free with any purchase over like a nominal amount. Like I'm thinking they must have used their average cart size amount. So like $50, $75. And it made me think, why don't I put together some of these sets and I can call it, super gift with purchase. And that's what we ended up calling in. And the key is you put together the set. Back then, the value had to be over 100. I had kind of methodology to it. Had to have a hero product in it. So, because you don't want to put together a bunch of products that people aren't really sure if they want or not. If it has the one hero product, they want it. They will spend to get that set just for that hero product. Everything else is kind of just gravy to them.
Like a bonus.
And and so those events really spurred us forward online doing those. And I did those even after, we got through the inventory. And I also opened retail stores at the same time. We're still figuring that out with the pandemic. But on the e-commerce, the things that worked were the promotions. And then as we evolved, new things came in like the retargeting, which is now going to become an issue with the new updates for iOS and the potential Chrome one, the Google one as well. So retargeting, it's I want to tell you a story when retargeting broke out. When it first arrived, I can't remember the year, but when it was first available, I wanted to do it. Yeah, to pixel people. I wanted to follow them around and serve them ads. And my internal team was entirely against it. And they said, no, it's weird to follow people around. It's violating their privacy. We shouldn't do it. And so we held back. I couldn't get buy-in through my internal team on it. They really felt it was against our principles. So we didn't retarget for a while. But now for most brands, retargeting is one of your most highest, ROAS, your highest ROI.
Interesting. Is that Is that a recurring theme that you see? You identifying a trend that you just want to hop on, but often it might be a challenge in getting buy-in from your team.
You do a lot of trends, especially I remember another time was when I wanted to get as much data on people as possible to really personalize their journey and segment to them. And I knew this was key to marketing. I couldn't get buy-in across my team on it because they felt that, gathering personal data this was at a time when data was kind of a bad word to say.
Yeah.
You didn't want to say, I'm gathering data on people. I mean, even now you have to tiptoe around it, but they said, no, we shouldn't be keeping so much data on our customers. It's not right. So a lot of things that you see across as you become bigger, when you're really small and you make all the decisions, you can easily do it. But as you grow and you get bigger and you have teams of people you need buy-in from because they need to execute, it becomes a little bit challenging. And so we're late to the game on acquiring data on our customers, I would say, because of that hold up internally.
What do you foresee to be the next biggest trend or thing that you're currently you may be holding back on at the moment?
I don't think, luckily for this, I have support across my company internally, and I have a slightly modified, I would say, a lot of my people, they've been with me a long time and I appreciate them and I'm thankful to them for that. So the team has changed somewhat from before when I've encountered resistance. I would say people are more supportive more recently on my current team. One of the big changes that I think is coming to the forefront that I've been big about since I saw it in China on Taobao, I can't remember when it was. It feels like it was 10 years ago, but it was probably 5 years ago, was the live shopping.
Oh,
so the live shopping, but it has to be in a way. So very critical to live shopping is you got to have that one button buy. It has to have that click a button buy. Now this was big. This reminds me of the QVC days, because in QVC, it was all about how easy can you make it to purchase for the customer. Yeah. And it was a big thing on the remote when you have that buy button. And when you call in, you just hit a button and you buy the product. It was about how quickly can you get people to buy. So even fundamentals that were back from the QVC home shopping day apply to e-commerce and the live shopping. I think in China that live shopping e-commerce, now live shopping is when it's streaming live and you have big influencers. So for example, in China, we partnered with a guy named, an influencer named Austin Zhaoqi. Zhaoqi I think is his Chinese name, and he's also called the Lipstick King. And he can sell a massive amount of products in literally minutes, like $500,000 of inventory in 3 minutes. It reminds me of QVC. It's even to another level. And most of your sales go through these influencer live streams, and as opposed to through in China, you don't even sell through your e-commerce site anymore. We closed down our e-commerce site in China because it was not worth the overhead to run it. You do everything through the marketplace, through Tmall Global and some other smaller marketplaces. But the amount we do through the live stream, which is also on Alibaba's ecosystem through Taobao Live, dwarfs everything else. So I see US following China in that way with the live stream, and other markets also following with that live stream. It's just a matter of whom is going to win this platform. I know everyone's finally testing it. Instagram, Facebook is testing it. Amazon's testing it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Shopify, I know they have app plugins in their app store that test it across the Shopify platform. But this is the trend that I think is going to really take over e-commerce, and it's live stream. I don't know if it's live stream from your own website. Like you hop on someone's website and you see the live stream just constantly going on. Once you hit a certain size, you always have someone on there, maybe during the busy hours. They're live and they're explaining the products, and for live stream to work, you have to have a few things. One is you have to have that button to purchase. And two is you have to have some sort of special draw. You got to create that kind of aura of it's limited time, it's a special, you need to act now. It's a lot of things from the home shopping playbook apply with live stream e-commerce.
And it seems like what makes the Chinese model so successful is that the way live stream is conducted, it's mobile first, and it's also kind of integral in the day-to-day lives of Chinese people. It's just a part of day-to-day life that they're definitely going to be on these applications at least once every single day. And I think that could be a challenge in the Western side of the world, where we're not necessarily reliant on a single application, like a super app in China, where you're buying, you're living, and you're kind of taking transportation, you're paying for stuff, you're paying for bills and everything through a single app. I don't think that's present in such a kind of diversified market in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, if it was in the US, they'd probably break it up. The government would say monopoly and break it up if they had a one app system. But yeah, you have the rise of TikTok across the US right now, which I see taking over. But then you have users who are you have a divide. You have some people who aren't on TikTok. They like to stick with Instagram and Instagram stories and IGTV, and other people, they like TikTok. And then you have some people, and it's typically the younger generation and sometimes it's generational, younger generation on Snapchat.
That makes sense. Rick, you launched 30 to 50 new products across all your brands every single year. Is that true?
Yes. And it's interesting you asked that, because we never measured new products as a percentage of our business very closely. And I recently brought that metric back, because in beauty, and I would say in wellness, as it's, beauty and wellness are converging. So I consider us a wellness company. In wellness, you want newness to be about 20% of your business. And newness is very critical, because that's what makes it interesting. That's what brings people back. And we had a little bit of a dearth. So we were at 30% newness back in 2017, like in our history. And it's because we would launch 40, 50 products a year. We had a little bit of a dearth of newness come 2020, I would say, to the end of 2019 into 20, because we didn't launch a lot in 18 and 19, towards the end of 18 into 19. But with the launch of our manufacturing, we launched a lab as part of that, a really cool, good sized lab where we're doing tons of product innovation, and that has spurred again our product development. So I'm excited that we're going to be launching, we'll get back to 40, 50 products a year again.
No, I'm super curious, because I learned this in business school, but I've never actually seen this being applied in the e-com space. But product lifecycle and product lifecycle management, with a company like yours and that many products that you have, how do you kind of coordinate what products are going to be phased out and what's coming in and replacing what? How do you plan that all out? Is there a team that runs that for you, or does that look like?
This is one of the most challenging things, because I think we're a little bit over assorted. We have a lot of SKUs, and the more you have, the more your overhead goes up. It's more things you got to keep track of, more things you move around in warehouses, and especially when you're putting them together. So we're buying the components and the ingredients and putting them together. So it's not just the end product that we're keeping inventory of, but we also have the components of that product. So it gets to be a lot. And I would say my team's a little bit overwhelmed from it at the moment. And then you think, well, how do we decide when is it time to take it down, to retire it? And when we went out of manufacturing in, 2017, 2018, we discontinued a lot of the products, thinking, we'll just make new products with other labs and bring new products to market and make it interesting. And we discontinued a ton of our skincare that we were making out of our own facility. And what ended up happening is we got a huge backlash from our customers that were upset because these were their go-to favorite products. They relied on these for the health of their skin. And we just, pulled the plug on them and stopped. And so in retrospect, that wasn't the right thing to do. It would have been better if we somehow continued making them, or if we didn't go out of manufacturing, that would have been the best, but we did. So how do you determine, like, if this rose water face mist, if it, say the sales aren't that high, and say it's to the point where, it's 0.1% of total company sales, do you keep it because you have some customers that are dependent on it? Like, it's the only thing for their skin that makes their skin feel rejuvenated and hydrated. Or do you discontinue it because it's no longer worth the expense of the overhead of holding that inventory? So it's really tough because of that. And you want to look at it from a business perspective, and you want to say, okay, if it's not worth the expense of holding the inventory and the overhead, we should probably get out of it. But there's a halo effect of the customers getting upset with you for that. So the smartest thing is to try to think of, is there anything alternative that I can pitch to them to migrate them to? And that's really difficult. It's more difficult than it sounds. Maybe I have a different kind of tonic that I can cross sell to them to migrate them away from the rose water mist into, maybe I have a lavender mist, and but maybe they really like rose. So sometimes really discontinuing product is really difficult. The one thing I will say that is very easy to discontinue on is when a product gets bad reviews. So we're known for our formulas. And one of the things I did that I'm very happy that we did is we implemented our NPS score. And we do it through Stamped.io, a Shopify app. And from doing the NPS score, we realized that what resonates with our customers is our formulas, because when they give us feedback, it's always excellent formulas. I love your formulas. I love your ingredients. I love your quality. It's all about the quality of our formulas. Sometimes they don't like our packaging, but that's not about us. We're all about the quality of the formulas. Sometimes they're frustrated with the use on the site. Most of them are frustrated because we're out of stock or we ship too slow. And what the NPS score has told me is that if there's a product on our website that has low reviews, we need to exit that product. That makes a very easy decision. And I remember back from my QVC days that's how QVC operated. I remember that. If you launch a product on home shopping, if it doesn't get good ratings, they pull it. The ratings mean a lot. So those reviews are really critical.
Rick, how do you price products? And you go through so many different products every single year. And it sounds like it's only going to be increasing from now on. What factors go into deciding what a product is priced at?
Yeah. So pricing is really, really important. The first factor is always cost, but in certain products, you're willing to give up more margin than others. So there's factors that impact that decision. So one is I always have a tried and true. Okay, you need a multiple of your cost that works with your business. And you start there. That's your starting point. What is your multiple that works with your business? Because you have so much overhead, so much, costs that go up as your sales go up, both fixed and adjustable costs. So you start with that multiple. And then I always do a competitive analysis and I see what else is on the market, and, or someone on my team does it now. And then I look at other things on the market. So I'll go to, multi-brand sites like Sephora, Ulta, and look at other products that are similar to the product I'm bringing to the market. What are they selling at? What's their price points? And I'll go on Amazon and see, what's selling on Amazon similar to this product and what's the price points. And then from there, I'll make adjustments based on, do we need to lower our margins to be more competitive? Because there's other, how unique is this product? If it's very unique and different from what else is out there, you can price it higher. You definitely want to try to take that margin because that'll support your marketing efforts and the growth of your business. You need profit to grow your business.
what are some of the um what are some of your favorite mistakes or failures that we haven't talked about today?
Oh my
In the
goodness.
past 15,
I've had so many.
17 years, long
Oh my
time.
goodness. Yeah. I've had so many mistakes.
Like top three
In
highlight
what
reels.
area? In what area? From uh gosh.
Let's do personal as an entrepreneur,
Mhm,
one for business, and
mhm.
uh, one more bonus if you got anything else.
Okay, so one personal as an entrepreneur, I would say a big mistake is not being persistent with some of the new ideas we had. So, for example, within our company, a couple of things. I'll give you a couple. These are just side projects we were doing, and I wish I was more persistent with it. It could have spun out other businesses that would have been a lot of fun and actually really rewarding. We made our own software internally in our company that was very
Oh,
much like a project management software, like, an Asana, a Monday.com.
mm,
Um, we called it Inkville at the time. We should have stuck at it. I lost my two engineers because they gave up on it, and I should have kept going after that. And we just wrote off that project and let it go. But it was pretty cool, and we built in a lot of functionality. It just needed an improved UI, and it would have really done well. So that's one.
why is that a mistake? Or why is that
Well, what
a
the mistake is just not persevering on it. So, just giving up too early. I just wish I kept at that project. Just let it keep going.
what could it have been like today if you persisted
Well,
at it?
if you think about it, if you take a company like Genie, which is Ancestry's competitor, that's where Yammer came out of, and the separate businesses. But you had,
Mm,
like, sometimes inside of your existing business, you can develop a new innovative business out of it. And to me, that's really exciting that you can actually use your existing business and develop something entirely new.
mm.
And maybe the best thing is if you can develop something inside your business that ends up destroying your business. That would
Oh
be the
yeah.
best, to disrupt the industry, something that would just destroy the industry. I don't know what that is yet in my industry. I hope to figure it out, but that would be the best. But I would say my mistake is just not sticking to something like that. It's like my engineering
Yeah.
team had uh, they did a mining rig to mine Ethereum and
Mm,
Bitcoin and then Ethereum back in the day, and they
right.
decided to let it go, and they should have stuck at it because it would have been extremely profitable. We would have had a lot of currency. They just did it
Yeah.
for a little bit and then gave up on it, tore it apart.
Interesting. So that's a personal one, or was that a business one?
I would, for me, I guess that crosses the lines. It's kind of personal and business. Just you got to keep at it. It's really difficult to know what do I give up and what do I keep doing. Is a really tough decision
Do you
in
have any guidelines
business.
or principles that you rely on right now to make that call? Like, all right, it's time to wrap things up and move on, or is it time to kind of persist?
I do now, and it's really got to trust yourself.
Mm,
So there's going to be a lot of noise around you, and most people, don't follow. One of the things I'm true to myself, and this is a personal learning, is that you don't listen to the masses. You can listen to them, but you don't follow the masses are doing. It's like when investing, you don't buy when everyone's buying, you don't sell when everyone's selling. You really got to follow what you think. So listen, you got to take in all the data. So you got to listen to everyone, but you don't have to do what they say.
yeah.
You do listen to yourself, listen to everyone, analyze it, and then do what you feel is right and make the call based on what you think inside. If you think you should keep going, you keep going. Don't do it just because everyone's telling you to quit. So you quit. If you feel you should keep going, then you keep going.
I think that's often the hardest part because sometimes you don't even. Well, personally, I don't even know if my opinions like actually mine or if it's just like a combination of other people's ideas and opinions. that's affecting my judgment. And
so when that happens, I encourage you to, I don't know how much you meditate or do mindfulness, but try to get yourself to the stage where you separate the true you as observer, observing the you that's going through life, that's, basically doing everything in life, and get to that observer mode and ignore the noise. And that clears everything out. If you can get really grounded and ignore the noise, you can make really clear decisions. It's more difficult than it sounds.
I get that. No, I get that. Yeah, you're right. And I guess often it's a matter of getting down to understanding what's truly coming from within you and what's an external like reaction type of thing to something that's external. That's a good reminder to open up my Headspace app again. But that used to be a part of my morning routine. I kind of just drifted away from it, but that's a really good reminder.
You Ric, can even do it for 2 minutes. You don't even have to do it for 5-10 minutes. If you can just do mindfulness for 1-2 minutes, it really helps you. I did. So I can give you an anecdote on it, is that in 2016, I won an industry event called Beauty Pitch. And as part of winning this event, the judges were Mark Cuban, Jean-Paul DeJorio, who is the, founded Patron, and also Paul Mitchell.
Yeah.
And, and a couple of editors. And what you win is Mark Cuban gets to be your mentor for a year. And so before the event, you prep for it, you go through rounds to get selected. We were selected to go on stage and present our pitch. And, we were concerned, like, how are we going to stay focused? How are we, Susie and I presenting, how are we going to win this? We're nervous. What if we say the wrong things? And behind the stage, before going live, I said, look, close your eyes. And I walked Susie and myself through mindfulness, and we just cleared our minds completely. And then we went on stage and we killed it and we won. And Mark Cuban became our mentor for a year, which was pretty cool.
That's insane. And that took what, 2 minutes, 5 minutes?
I probably took like 2 to 5 minutes. I'm not sure. It was really quick, but it worked. It really grounded us, centered us. So when we're on stage, we're focused. We don't have anything else on our mind except focusing on the judges and winning the pitch.
It sounds like you've developed a practice of your own. Are you using an application of some kind? Calm.
I've used various apps, like Calm and things like that. But I find there's one book by Shazard that I really like called Positive Intelligence. That, and I took his course. I'm part of a group called YPO, and he offered a course free to YPO members. And
nice.
I took that course, and that really made an impact on me. So I highly recommend his book, Positive Intelligence. And he's the one that taught me, you could even do mindfulness in a few seconds. And he trained on how to do mindfulness in a few seconds. Even if you only have a few seconds, you can do it.
Positive Intelligence. Gonna get that. It's cool that you're part of YPO. I'm actually a part of the sister organization called EO.
EOS, yeah. Yes, I really like Vern Harnish, who created that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I apply a lot of his tactics to running the business.
Cool.
Scaling up from his book.
Scaling up? Nice. Yeah. Very interesting. Has it been the go-to framework since the beginning, or is it?
No, I didn't know about it. I wish, talk about maybe personal or business mistakes. I wish I knew about this earlier. I wish I knew about.
Really?
I didn't know about, the entrepreneur organization. I didn't know about YPO until more recently when I went off to, so it happens to be that James's wife's brother is a professor at Harvard Business School. And so he recommended me to do the owner president program there. And so I went
OPM.
My first session, OPM. And about half of the members there are YPO. And so I didn't know about YPO, and they recommended I join, and that's how I ended up joining. So if I had this framework earlier in the business, I can guarantee you it would be a bigger business today. I didn't run into it. I didn't find it. So I'm very happy I have it now and can use a lot of the learnings to drive it faster, growing faster.
Would you recommend someone new to it to read the book, or would you recommend working with an implementer of some kind, scaling
just
up?
I would recommend just read the book. Just read
Scaling
the
Up
book.
by
And
Vern Harnish.
or Gino Wickman's Traction. That would be depending on the size of your organization, either Gino's Traction or Vern's Scaling Up. I've used bits and pieces from both books. So, and I created my own Purity business system is what I call it.
Nice. Very cool.
And then I created my own, our own organization training system, Purity training system. So we develop classes internally in our company based on that, and badges that our staff can earn. And so this is really helping. I'm a big believer in elevating your people. You got to really run your organization kind of like a university. And from there, you can elevate your people. They become better and better. When they make mistakes, you want them to make mistakes, because that's how you know they're trying hard enough. If they're not making mistakes, they're not trying hard enough.
How do you facilitate an environment like that, like a culture like that?
It's really challenging to change the culture, I would say, but it's all with a mindset. I would say if you really want to know the answer to that question, there's a case study I would recommend to read, is the Toyota Harvard Business Review case study on the Toyota production system, because the TPS, the Toyota production system, is sort of the groundwork behind this kind of methodology and how you change a mindset. And within that case study, you realize that there's a car manufacturing plant that's actually nearby me. And it used to be a GM plant, and it was the worst car manufacturing plant in their portfolio. And they partnered with Toyota and made it the NUMMI plant in Fremont, California. And when they partnered with Toyota, a year later, they implemented Toyota production system. A year later, it became GM's number one plant in terms of quality, output, like all these metrics. And here's the thing. It was with the same people. With the same people that it was the worst plant. It became the best plant. And it was all about a change of mindset. So it's really about changing the mindset of your people. It's not necessarily about changing your people. So it really starts from the top. And how you implement and the culture you build is really, really important. And that plan is now Tesla plan.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. So you're saying that it's often not necessarily always about having like the right people or wrong people, but the culture, the mindset, and the system that supports the best of the people that you have.
Right. And I'm a big believer in groupthink as well. Our product development is based on groupthink. So one of the things from Scaling Up that I really liked, I can't remember if it's out of Scaling Up or from one of Vern Harnish's talks, but it's something we do across our companies called a start, stop, keep. And so we ask our customers, or maybe it was Gino, I can't remember who it came from, but I took it and put it in our system. So we ask our customers, we ask our front lines, what should we start doing? What should we stop doing? What should we keep doing? And then our leadership team, every meeting, we look at that and we analyze it, and we just, put it in our mind, see if there's anything we can act on. And it's a way of group think of how knowing what to improve. Where do we need to focus our time on?
That's incredible. Final question. What are some of your favorite brands and businesses in the e-com or D2C space that you personally look up to?
I think Allbirds really nailed it. I think they did a great job. I'm impressed with how fast they scaled.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah. They did extremely well. In beauty space, I would say our biggest competitor, just because they've done really well on the e-commerce space. And I just noticed a couple of weeks ago, they sold their company for $2 billion, I think, to Unilever. It's Paula's Choice is the name. They did extremely well in the e-com space. They might have been a few $100 million in revenue for their cosmetics, their skincare.
Wow, and sold for $2 billion to Unilever.
$2 billion to Unilever.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it was Unilever. I'm pretty sure. And then outside of those, there's the watch company. What's the watch company? Movement, MVMT.
Movement, yeah.
I think they grew really fast. They did really well. There's another, I can't remember the other shoe company's name. There's another one that I really liked, but I just can't think of the name top of my head. So there's always ones that come up really fast. Another one, like, I like what Revolve did around influencers. I always admire the ones who effectively used influencers, because influencers is so tricky. And I want to figure this out. It's a lot of hit or miss. And a lot of times, you can throw away a lot of money, or you can nail it and make some good partnerships with some KOL, some influencers that can really help you grow your brand.
Rick, this has been awesome. Unfortunately, we're at the end of our time now. I would love to continue on this conversation. I think there's such an amazing amount of just insights. I took down a ton of notes myself. So
awesome.
Thank you so much. Now, Rick, if people are interested in connecting with you and perhaps ask you a question too, where should they connect with you?
LinkedIn is great. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, that I don't check that every day, but I check it, every few weeks. That's a great way to connect with me. And that's probably the best way, because I don't, I use Instagram, TikTok just to check it out, but I'm not a big user of social media. I just don't have the time, but I need to stay up to date on how they operate. So I look at them, but probably the social media I use the most is maybe LinkedIn.
Gotcha. LinkedIn it is. Rick, thank you so much for being on the show.
All right. Thank you, Joshua. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the E-commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.